make sure you read the instructions whenever you're doing this stuff. It's not just lube it up. It's not a free-for-all over here. This ain't college, if you know what I mean.
Welding over here.
All right, morning everyone. This is Shay with 1010's Motorsports. So, yesterday was not as productive as I'd hoped, to be honest. Did get the diff welded up, at least partially. We're going to fully box this differential. So after we've welded all of the spider gears on 4 sides, and then of course again on the other 4 sides, we're going to be adding another plate into the diff in order to further support the spider gears. We'll go over that a little bit more in a minute, but as you guys might already notice, I have a nice deep voice today, and it's because I'm not feeling the greatest. Anyway, maybe it's from welding in a poorly ventilated area. But no, actually, it's just the symptoms of a 9-month-old baby. That's pretty much it. Basically, germ factories is what they are. So we're gonna be doing some more welding today, boxing in the diff, hopefully get that thing back together. I have some upper and lower control arms, other suspension components that are coming. We need to press those bad boys out. Hopefully we can get the diff back in, get the rear suspension figured out, get the rear wheels on it, roll those fenders so Josh can throw the wrap on this bad boy tomorrow. No, wait, Saturday. Tomorrow's Friday, so in 2 days. Beyond that, we got quite a few things to do still. Probably start on the interior side of things after that. We gotta get the seat in, gotta get the second brake lever in, gotta get the brake lines ran, all that good stuff. And then hopefully our brakes will be back. That'd be kind of cool. So I'm going to start doing the measurements we need to box in this diff and hopefully get that stuff cut out. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so ideally we want to make a piece of steel, square preferably, that's just large enough to be caught by these chamfered edges of our spider gears, so it drops in really well and gives us plenty of places to add material to each one of our spider gears. All right, so I have my Katrina measuring device here. This thing survived a flood, so it's questionable as far as its accuracy goes. So we're going to attempt to get these bad boys in here in any type of respectable manner. And it's difficult. Let's start here on this side. All right, let's go for 55 millimeters. Yeah. All right, so we got ourselves our square pieces. Here to here, 55 millimeters. And then our top section is going to be let's do 38 millimeters, whatever. 38 millimeters. We'll add one of those to both sides, and then we'll have a fully boxed diff. Let's go hop on the old word processor. We're gonna have this cut out on a laser table. I'm not gonna worry about sitting there with a grinder. Who has time to sit with a grinder and just cut out a small piece of steel, right? Instead of when we could just spend 5 minutes on a program, make it out, spend another 20 minutes exporting it to the table, and spend another 5 minutes looking at it get cut out. When, yeah, let's just do that. Again, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. I'll never hear the end of it. General Document Units. IPS. Yeah. Freedom units, baby. Freedom units. Yeet support. Let me go on. Can you put exclamation marks in files these days? Yeah, it looks like you can. Yeah. Looks good. We're gonna put a nice little curve on it too, so that it follows the contours of the actual differential. That way the edges here and here aren't just flying. They're gonna be nice and curved, so I can lay a nice fat bead along that support bracket. Well, let's send it off to get cut. Okay, so since we just figured that out, I thought it'd be a good idea to come take a look at our rear differential bushing, because it's known This is Shay. Perfect. I have the original one, so I'll do some measurements, and if they fit just right, then we'll take them. All right, man. Look forward to it. Thanks a lot. Yep. Bye. My man Leo coming through in the clutch. I did a couple of exploratory bangs on this rear differential bushing, and I determined that's going to be a huge pain. So we're going to go a different method. So back to the drawing board, literally, and we're going to cut out a piece of steel that will work just right to fit in that point. Drop a carriage bolt in it and a cup on the back side, so when we tighten that bad boy up, hopefully it'll pop out. So let's go back. So on to our bushing removal tool. We're going to try and cut this out of some pretty hefty stuff, so hopefully it doesn't just fall apart or bend, because that wouldn't be too much fun. There's 3.14 equals 314. We'll call it 315 millimeters. Okay, so 315 millimeters. Bam. 12.4. Let's do 320 millimeters. That way we can actually, instead of me trying to weld it like a butted edge, we can actually overlap it a tiny bit, and I can throw a bead on the inside and a bead on the outside. Because I'm not a professional welder, so any help I can get is beneficial. And we're going to make this thing 60 millimeters tall. And there we have it. That's going to be the part we're going to bend and weld to our cup. Should be legitimate. Cool. Cool. Cool, she said, huh? Off to our next thing. So, our parts showed up. We have control arms. Well, actually, that's control arm. Is that what that's called? I thought that was a radius arm. But we have a radius arm. We have two upper control arms. We got some ball joints. So let's start by pressing some of these ball joints out. Sorry, these bushings out of these upper control arms that we're not going to use because we have our fancy polyurethane ones. So that should hold us off, and then we're going to go grab lunch. All right, gentlemen, ladies and gents, these guys are fresh, literally brand new. You can still see the grease they used to actually install the bushings. They're still there. So hopefully these guys come out real easy. I would imagine if you had a hammer, you could probably just bang it out. But we'll give it a shot. Good old try on the press here using this, what is this, 13/16 socket? Yeah, we'll give that a shot. We'll give her a shot. Problem with this thing is that there's not a whole lot of room to support one side of this while pushing out the bearing at the same time. So we'll see if we can't get into some trouble here. Yeah. No. Well, it's actually not a cool story, bro. Not a cool story at all. What are the odds of you actually coming out? That actually feels pretty good. I'm liking the way that feels. I'm liking this. Oh, where there's a will, there's a way, gents. How come every time you use this, it smells like Harbor Freight? Like the smell just wears off over time, but somehow when you start to use it, it just kind of pops out. Just maybe. just maybe. All right, so just like any time we use a hydraulic press, you got to try it 5 or 6 times before you got the right process. And we finally got the right process. So we're doing a good old reverse press in order to get this bushing started. All right, let's see, and we're successful. 2 down, 2 more to go. All right, we got someone out there over our shoulder. Real fancy. All right, everyone, we're on to our first set of bushings that we're pressing in, and it's pretty important to actually read these instructions because a lot of these bushings actually say specifically to add grease in certain bushings, but others not to. And I think these are because these are a little bit different, and we'll touch base on those when we start to do these lower control arms. But there are some instructions that say apply grease to the outer diameter of a bushing, but not to the actual inner diameter. So make sure you read the instructions whenever you're doing this stuff. It's not just lube it up. It's not a free-for-all over here. This ain't college, if you know what I mean. Anyway, upper control arm bushing. Apply grease to all metal parts that contact the polyurethane bushing, part number blah, 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 and inner metal sleeve. All right, so we're good to go on these ones. And here they are. And for the sake of an easier install, I assume that we're going to want to press the bushing in first without the metal sleeve, because I would imagine the metal sleeve actually expands the polyurethane just a slight amount and maybe keeps it in there. We'll see. All right, now if you notice, let's see if I can get this to focus on here really well. There is a flat surface on this edge. However, if you flip it, there is a chamfered surface on this edge. That indicates you're going to want the bushing to go in that way. All right, gentlemen. Now for the fun stuff. Yeah, this should work out. This should work out. This is like the most unique lubricant ever because it's like a mix of lubricant as well as glue. Anything you put it on. In fact, this jack, the first thing I ever did with this press was install a set of bushings like this. And it's been disgusting ever since. I just got man strength. Look at that. Pressed it right in. There we go. Which these guys, I'm pretty sure I will have to use the press to actually press in. Or maybe not. Yeah, we need to press them in. All right. This is the contraption we've come up with to try and remove our rear subframe bushing. Now, the idea behind it is we're going to use this guy, which we've dubbed earlier the rear bushing cup, and this guy, which on the, of course, on the files are the rear bushing washer. We're going to sandwich these guys between the bushing in the subframe and use this bolt to try and press that bushing out of the subframe. So it's a little overkill, but you know, hopefully it works. If not, I don't really know what we're going to do next. There is a method of burning out the bushing and using a Sawzall to cut it out, which, you know, it sounds a little bit more involved, but this was a pretty involved process as it was too. So I know that there are tools out there that exist to do this. Maybe we'll put these up for sale on the website, but probably unlikely. So what we're going to do first to help this guy relieve a little bit of resistance, we're going to lube up some of these washers
This guy is going to go into our subframe on the back side of our bushing. This guy is going to go on the front side of the subframe towards the engine of the car. And hopefully we can press this thing out. As you see here, there's already some pound marks on the side of this bushing where I tried to get it out with a punch and a hammer and it wasn't happening. Where the outer race would typically be, it's also coated in rubber. So I think if you probably banged on it hard enough or long enough, you could probably get it, but I think it's also a reason why people have made tools like this. So rather than waste our time and possibly breaking a finger, I'm just gonna get on with it. Is that as we tighten this bolt, it will force our bushing out. And we could probably use the bushing, or this whole tool, in the exact opposite direction to install the new one. Okay, get this thing tight. So, box end on one side, and my ratcheting on the other. So far, so good. I think I'm getting, I think this is bending a little bit on our washer side. All right. We're gonna keep on going until one of these gives. All right, well, we need more of them, or stronger pieces. Huh? That did not move at all. Can't imagine this thing has to go in or out a direction. It doesn't look like it. Because it didn't move at all. Didn't move one bit. We went back to the drawing board and did some calculations. And we think we might have a way to fix this problem. I emailed my buddy Matt Damon, who works at NASA. He suggested okay, this looks a little ridiculous, but just bear with us here. Maybe this will give us a little bit more surface area to grab onto that washer and prevent it from bending as much. And it still works too. Works-ish. Come on, thing. It's getting really tight. All right. You guys missed out on some of this action. So it didn't work, and the bolt cross-threaded itself when we were trying to loosen it, so we had to break it off. So, and it looks like we didn't move it, like literally not even a millimeter at all. So, seems like our stuff is a little too weak here. We've literally dug this into the aluminum. And as you can see, this guy is nice and bent now too. So this bushing is no joke. Burning and cutting it out might be our only option. We're on to version 2 of our rear differential bushing removal tool. So this right here is the old and busted, and this is the new hotness. So as I said earlier, this is the equivalent of, if you don't know how to tie a good knot, tie a bunch of bad knots. So we basically put 3 stacks of steel in the places where they bent before, got rid of some of the fancy nonsense, and hopefully this does the trick. If this doesn't work, we're gonna have to just cut it out. So let's give it a shot. All right, children. This is basically the Kimbo slice of bushing removal tools. Oh yeah. we got plenty of threads here. We got plenty. And it doesn't appear to be moving at all. What are the chances that this only comes out one direction? What are the chances of that? I felt something move. No way. Jose. What is bending? Is it bending or is it moving? Oh my God. Dave. I think it's moving. I was gonna give up.
Can't do this.
All right. I know you're not supposed to do this, but I'm getting tired. We'll try 220. Sorry, that's just 200 foot-pounds, freedom pounds. Okay, so it's not 200 foot-pounds, but boy, is that a lot easier. But just for the sake of continuing to see what this is, let's try 150. Oh man, I'm weak. It ain't 150. There's 100. Oh man. Anyway, it was very tight. I'm cranking on this thing now. I'm gonna need an extension on this thing pretty soon. By the time it's done. All right, I feel like this should be almost done. Oh, come on, there it was. All right, now it's starting to spin. The whole bolt. We're going to take this bad boy off and see what kind of progress we've made. Okay. All right. So even though it's 3 plates thick, you can still see it's got a nice little cone in it, as did this guy. And our bolt actually is missing some threads too. So we are, I mean, almost there. Like it is quite a bit of the way out. All right. And we're golden. Now, I guess when I did my measuring, I was not expecting these guys to cave in as far as they did. I only needed like 5 more millimeters of space. Before our bushing came out. So there's the side I pounded up really well. That I think we're gonna have to actually reuse. And here's our centerpiece. literally. And it's just slightly warm. So, we could probably burn the rest of this stuff off. Or at least continue to burn it until it gets a little bit more charbroiled. Kind of like Burger King cooks their burgers. All right, now the instructions do actually say to install it from the front of the car towards the back of the car. Oh, look at that. I almost got it all in by hand. Just because my cup is not large enough to fit over the aftermarket bushing, but I don't think that we'll need a whole lot of pressure to press this new one in. Even though this bolt is pretty much done. Should be retired at this point. In fact, and that's all my extension can do. Let me try from this side. We only got a little bit more to go. All right, that's that. Let me. All right. Whoops. Well, I can say that this little version 2 Kimbo Slice differential bushing tool saved us quite a bit. All right, we got, surprising, it still used a lot of lubricant, so there's not a whole lot of excess that came out the other side. And this, I assume they're going to want it to be installed on the tapered side, but I'm not really too sure at what depth. So I'll have to refer back to the instructions on this one. Went ahead and lubed up our inner bushing, and I already got it kind of set in place. We need to press it. I'm pretty sure it needs to be, there's a point where there's a bevel or a chamfer in this bushing, which allows you to get this kind of started. When you press it in, I'm pretty sure it needs to actually be recessed from the face of our bushing here. So how I'm gonna do that, I'm not quite sure just yet. Maybe with a socket after I kind of get it into place, but we'll see what we come up with. This thing is slipping more than I would like. Alright, that's probably as far as I think we should go. Yeah, that looks about right, I think. Now, depending on how, when we install this new diff, I think we'll have a little bit of room to play with. If we get it in there and it's still not just right, we could probably finesse the diff in and get it in place.
but it looks pretty good. Now all we gotta do is just get our diff back into our, well, our diff back into our diff housing, get the front bushings in, which actually seemed like a pretty easy job compared to this guy, and we'll throw it back up in the car.